This man is a killer. Instead of the traditional death penalty, a more terrible punishment awaits him. His victim's parents will decide which parts of his body will be amputated. To a revision of the government's position regarding the death penalty, the position of a surgeon guard has been created in the maximum security prison. His main job is to follow the medical protocol so that the prisoners do not suffer more than the usual post-surgery inconvenience. The surgeon communicates with Willie Bingham, one of the prisoners, in his cell. The prisoner is depressed and shocked that his hand is about to be cut off. The surgeon calmly explains to Will that he is a murderer and that is the verdict, but he is not able to come to terms with such an outcome and is trying to prove that this is unfair. According to him, although he killed that girl, he did not realize what he was doing. After all, the whole reason for what happened is due to drugs and booze. Will adds that he could never kill and mutilate an innocent person. Meanwhile, the surgeon continues to calmly inform the prisoner about the execution of the sentence. According to him, the first surgery will be purely symbolic and he will observe the correctness of its execution. In panic and desperation, Willie asks to simply execute him as they did before, but the surgeon explains that the rules have changed a little and this procedure is his chance for redemption. In the end, he can become a nationwide example. And at most after the second or third surgery, his redemption will be over. These words clearly do not inspire Will and he vomits into the toilet. Next, we see the hospital ward, where preparations for the surgery are underway. On the bed fully conscious is a frightened Willie Bingham. Behind the glass, all this is watched by members of the family of the deceased, a father and 2 daughters. It is they who have the right to decide how far surgeons can go. The father gives the command to proceed and the warden gives instructions to the surgeons. A drawing class is taking place in one of the middle schools. Children draw and play. Suddenly, Willie is brought into the classroom with an amputated left hand and he tells the students about what criminal acts can bring to. Shocked children are clearly not ready for such a gloomy performance. During the second operation, Will has his right arm and left leg removed. It seems that the family members of the deceased are getting a taste. As his deformities increase, the results begin to be shown to difficult teenagers from the most neglected public schools. During these visits, Willie tries to tell the juvenile delinquents to behave themselves, unless of course they want to look like him. Although Willie was strong enough in spirit and recovered well physically, the prospects of a third surgery did not bode well. Before the procedure, the warden tries to cheer up the poor man, praising him for his stamina and expressing the hope that the members of the family of the deceased will take pity on him and will not go too far. While spending time at home, the warden hears a newscast reporting protests against a too brutal and barbaric form of punishment for criminals like 38-year-old Willie Bingham, who abused and killed a schoolgirl. Everything is ready for the third surgery and the doctors hope for the favor of the family members of the deceased girl. But the father coolly orders to begin. The surgeons and the overseer look at each other in disappointment. During this surgery, Bingham loses a kidney and a lung. And this even has a certain plus, because the organs of prisoners provide a small but stable income for the recently privatized prison system. In addition, instead of regular television, Willie is shown videos of his operations at his leisure. The poor fellow even manages to joke hysterically, asking the nurse what they will cut from him in today's episode. 5 months later, Bingham is scheduled for a 5th surgery, during which his genitals are removed. After that day, he no longer cried or spoke to anyone. To his last surgery, Willie went without any emotions. His ears, nose and tip of his tongue are removed, and the remains of his body are depilated by a laser. At this, the satisfied father decides to stop and signs the relevant papers, and the warden informs Willie, crippled and bandaged like a mummy, that he was still able to reach the end. 5 years have passed since then. Bingham's room is the last one on the south side of the top floor and the lights are always on. He is always there and his eyes are constantly looking at the ceiling, in deathly silence, except the last week of every month. After all, it is at this time that Willie Bingham is taken to school. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.